All right, let's just jump right in. Today, we're putting on our cybersecurity architect hats. We are going to completely demystify the hidden mechanics of information and network security by digging into the core architecture that, quite frankly, keeps our entire digital world from collapsing. Think of this explainer as your personal masterclass. We aren't just looking at how we protect data, but really unpacking exactly why these systems are designed the way they are. Here is our quick roadmap for today's syllabus. First, the CIA triad in banking. Next, passive versus active attacks. Then we'll cover cryptography tools. And finally, establishing network trust. Starting things off with Module 1, the CIA triad in banking. We're going to ground these massive security concepts in everyday transactions you're already super familiar with. Okay, so at the absolute heart of information and network security, we have three fundamental objectives. You'll hear this called the CIA triad. C is for confidentiality. That's keeping your data safe from unauthorized snooping. I is for integrity, meaning information can only be modified in strictly authorized ways. And A is for availability, basically making sure the systems are actually there and working when you need them. And just as a quick side note, alongside these core three, we always have to consider authenticity and accountability. Those two sort of flank the triad to round out our baseline security posture. Let's pull this out of the theoretical textbook realm for a second. Imagine you're logging into your online banking portal. The stakes are pretty high, right? Well, here is how the triad kicks in. First, confidentiality. That keeps your account balances, your routing numbers, your entire transaction history totally private. Second, integrity. This is huge. When you transfer $50 to a friend, integrity ensures a hacker can't just swoop in and illicitly alter that amount to $5,000 and route it to some foreign account. No way. Finally, availability guarantees that you can actually access those funds promptly when you demand them, instead of just staring at endless server error screens when you're trying to pay rent. If even one of those three pillars fails, the entire banking system kind of loses its foundation.
But as we all know, the internet isn't exactly an empty, safe vacuum. It's a highly contested space. Let's move to Module 2 and check out the actual security battlefield: passive versus active attacks. The absolute most crucial point here is understanding how these two threat profiles differ, because it completely changes how we handle them. Passive attacks, think invisible eavesdropping or traffic analysis, they don't alter your data at all. The attacker is literally just watching and listening in the shadows. Because they don't break or change the system, they are incredibly hard to detect. So our main strategy against passive attacks has to be absolute prevention, usually through really heavy encryption. On the flip side, active attacks actually involve altering data or creating fake data streams. Because the internet is just so vast, it is practically impossible to prevent active attacks absolutely. So our focus has to pivot away from pure prevention and heavily toward rapid detection and recovery. Picture this real-world active threat for a second, the classic man-in-the-middle attack. Normally, you have a client and a server communicating directly. But here, the attacker intercepts the connection right in the middle. They masquerade as the client to the server and simultaneously pretend to be the server to the client. It's wild because neither the client nor the server has any idea the other has been replaced. The attacker can now just selectively modify that data in real time. This is exactly why active attacks require incredibly robust authentication protocols. You need to know, for sure, that the entity you're talking to is actually who they claim to be. So, how do we fight back against sophisticated threats like that? We need serious tools. Welcome to Module 3, Cryptography and Digital Contracts. This is our heavy defensive arsenal. Mapping out this architecture, we basically break cryptographic algorithms down into three main camps. First, we have keyless algorithms, which, as the name implies, don't use any keys at all during the transformation. Second, we have single-key algorithms, where both the sender and the receiver share one single secret key. And third, we have two-key, or asymmetric algorithms. These use a really clever mathematical pair of keys, a public key that anyone can see and a private key securely locked down by the owner. Comparing those first two categories is actually super enlightening. Keyless methods offer this really unique advantage of deterministic cryptographic hash functions. You can feed in a document of literally any size, and it instantly spits out a small, fixed-length digest. It's basically a unique digital fingerprint of that exact data, and it is completely irreversible. Single-key methods, however, have their own unique advantage. They are perfect for reversible, high-speed, symmetric encryption. Since both parties already share the same secret key, it's just incredibly fast and efficient for scrambling and unscrambling massive volumes of data back and forth in real time. But you know, cryptography isn't just about keeping secrets. It's also about enforcing the rules.
And that brings us to a vital concept called non-repudiation. Basically, non-repudiation is the ironclad assurance that the sender gets proof of delivery and the recipient gets proof of the sender's identity. The result? Neither side can later deny that they processed the information.
Think about how a business might actually use non-repudiation for executing digital contracts. Let's say two massive companies agree to a merger using digital documents. They're going to use cryptographic digital signatures, usually relying on those two key asymmetric algorithms we talked about a minute ago. The sender uses their private key to sign the contract. The recipient then uses the sender's public key to verify it. What this does is create indisputable proof of delivery for the recipient and absolute proof of the sender's identity. Thanks to the cryptographic math, neither party can legally turn around later and say, hey, I never signed that, or I never received that document. The whole transaction is completely locked in.
Zooming way out to the macro level now. Module 4, Establishing Network Trust, and exploring why the whole idea of perfect security is, honestly, a total myth. Because security isn't just math, right? It's organizational science. It's human behavior. Look at how trust is actually established between two network entities. It always starts with the truster's own inherent propensity to trust. That baseline gets combined with an evaluation of the trustee across three things: their ability or competence, their benevolence or goodwill, and their integrity to stick to their principles. When those three factors outweigh the perceived risk, the result is active risk-taking. That means we actively choose to rely on that entity and disclose our sensitive information to them. Literally, every time an organization hires a new cloud provider, they are running through this exact psychological trust model. Yet, despite all our genius algorithms and complex trust models, perfect information security remains a complete myth. Why is that? Well, our sources highlight three main reasons. First up, balancing strong security measures with user-friendly operations is just a massive, ongoing nightmare. A lot of people view strong security as a total roadblock to efficiency. If a system is too annoying to use, humans are absolutely going to find a dangerous workaround. Second, security is tragically often treated as a post-design afterthought. Instead of being baked into the initial system architecture, it just gets bolted on at the very end, which leaves deep structural flaws. And third, true security requires constant monitoring. In today's short-term, incredibly overloaded IT environments, the sheer volume of alerts and data creates overwhelming risks. Security teams are just suffering from massive alert fatigue.
So I'm going to leave you with this question to ponder long after this explainer is over. We've seen the incredible architecture required to keep data safe, but we also know the very real human cost of implementing it all. As an everyday internet user, or maybe even a future system architect, how much of your own seamless convenience are you truly willing to sacrifice for the absolute security you actually need? Thanks so much for joining me today, and keep questioning the systems around you.